Hi, I'm Carmen. I'm a teacher, an ADHDer, a certified life coach, and I created this podcast to spread awareness about ADHD, anxiety, and other mental health conditions and neurodevelopmental disorders. Let's chat about all the challenges, the fun, and the struggles of these things. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hello, friends. So, I've been listening to some of my previous episodes, and today I want to talk a little bit more about executive dysfunction. So, this refers to our executive functioning skills. It is like, what does that really mean though? Like, it's being a self-leader. Having executive functioning skills is being a self-leader. When you have executive dysfunction, you don't know how to be a self-leader, or you have to work on it extremely hard. So, according to our friends at Very Well Mind, quoted, executive dysfunction, which is called executive function deficit or disorder, is when the brain has a hard time with the skills of attention, memory, flexible thinking, and organization of time, and management of things. This has to do with the deficiency in our brains of norepinephrine and dopamine. It affects the prefrontal cortex the most, and we receive the most dopamine in anticipation of the thing you want, like the goal getting done, rather than actually getting the goal done. So dopamine helps us reach goals. Norepinephrine helps us start the goal and keep the attention and focus to finish out the goal. So the term executive functioning was coined in the 1970s by Carl Pibram, whose research led to finding out that our executive functionings are in our prefrontal cortex and that they are connected throughout the brain through the neurotransmitters. Attitude magazine had a really great model for how this kind of works, so I'm going to go through it because it helped me kind of understand it a little bit in a different way. And I know we all think differently, so this is the who, what, where, when, why method. Or not method, but explanation model. So who, that refers to ourselves, self-awareness and reflection. The what is linked to working memory, like planning our goals and future and schedules, things like that. Where, in the frontal cortex, basal ganglia, amygdala, limbic and nervous systems, and some other parts of the brain. When, the timing and behavior or transitions in our behavior. And the why, linked in the emotional area, which is where what we think influences how we feel. So that's scientific, friends. When I tell you that your situations cause a thought that cause a feeling, that's the why part of your brain. It's where what we think influences how we feel. Where what we think influences how we feel. So essentially, put most simply, executive functioning, like successfully, is goal setting into goal getting and then completion, right? Well, ADHD brains usually have some sort of executive dysfunction. Does that mean we all have executive dysfunction disorder? No. This just means we all have trouble with those parts of our brain. Hey ADHDer, I see you. Are you looking for a community of people, possibly with a fabulous leader, of people with ADHD? A community in which you finally feel like you belong? Because I found it. Kristen Carter created Focused. Head to my show notes to sign up for the ADHD program for adults by Kristen Carter. Head to my show notes and use that link, and you'll get $50 off your first payment. You won't regret it, my friend. All right, back to the show. So there are 7 core executive functioning skills. 1 is self-awareness. 2, inhibition. 3, non-verbal working memory. 4, verbal working memory. 5, emotional self-regulation. 6, self-motivation. And 7, planning and problem solving. Now, when you look up core executive functioning skills, they range, like all websites / researchers / articles, they range from 5 to 10 skills. The ones that I'm using are the ones that I experienced the most and the ones that were in some of the research that I read. So self-awareness, number 1, is self-directed attention. So knowing what you need and when. So like paying attention during class instead of thinking about, I don't know, what you want to do after school. Or having the self-awareness to know that you're going to be hungry, so you bring food with you. Things like that. Inhibition is self-restraint. Stop doing the thing because you know it will result in a net negative result for a goal that you have. So, say you have a goal to lose 5 pounds. Inhibition would be not eating the whole piece of cake because you know that that might have a net negative result on your goal. Nonverbal working memory is how well we hold visual things in our minds and how well we can picture something mentally. Now, while ADHDers learn better visually, or at least I do, being able to picture something mentally after somebody has just described it with words, that's super difficult. And then the verbal working memory. I'm going to try really hard not to get fired up about this one because it's nobody's fault. It's literally just our brains and the way they work. So verbal working memory is internal self-talk. I literally teach this in my preschool classroom. This develops for most people in play as a child at preschool age. But for ADHD brains, unless it's taught directly through the elementary years, we don't develop this skill. Literally, we just don't. I didn't realize that everybody else, like non-ADHD brains, have this self-talk that's just like there. It's insane. It's insane. So we have to teach ourselves that. We talk out loud a lot, and yeah. That's all I'm going to say about that one because, yeah, we don't have the skill unless we were taught it. So that means we needed to be diagnosed young, which I was not. So that fires me up just a little bit. But the next one is emotional self-regulation, which is what I'm having right now. I'm regulating how I feel about things by using the previously stated 4 functions. So by using self-awareness, inhibition, and nonverbal and verbal working memory, using those things to your benefit. For example, verbal working memory, self-talking through a task or emotion. Or another one, self-awareness, like knowing it's time to leave for work so you have everything ready to go. Number 6 is self-motivation. So this is how well you are able to start and complete a task when there's no immediate gratification. For example, writing a podcast episode, writing a lesson plan. There's no immediate gratification. Yes, later on I get more listens, likes, ratings, yes. Yes, later on I see the growth in the students, but there's no immediate gratification. See the difference there? The last one is planning and problem solving. It's how we move information around our brains to come up with new ideas and to have flexible thinking and come up with new and different ways of doing things. This also involves planning, scheduling, and, all things that ADHD brains are not so great at. Hey listener, if you're enjoying this show, you should totally subscribe to it so that you can see when new episodes pop right up into your feed. In Spotify, if you go up at the top and hit click follow, it'll notify you every time there's a new episode. Then, really quick, as you're listening to this, right under the follow little bubble, there's a rating bubble. If you could just rate this podcast and give some feedback, possibly maybe answer the poll question that's underneath the podcast, I would really, really appreciate it. I hope that you're enjoying whatever you're doing today or tonight. Have a great one. A couple of the other things that are involved in the types of executive functioning skills are adaptable thinking, planning, self-monitoring or reflection, self-control, time management, and organization. These skills can be strengthened. It just takes a lot of time and a lot of practice. I found cognitive behavioral therapy worked the best for me, and practice, literally just practice. Also, coaching is amazing. Self-coaching is even better. Literally, go sign up for Focused right now. Use the link in my show notes to get $50 off your first month, where we're going to learn how to be coaches for ADHD. You learn how to coach yourself. You don't even have to learn how to be a coach, but you're going to learn how to coach yourself so you can start improving these skills, because the lists of things that help us, like Post-its or whiteboards or reminders or put things in a place, or all of these tips and tricks that we try to go by, only work for a little while because they're novel. The real work is the thought work. It's the way you think about your executive functioning. It's the way you think about yourself and if you can do something or not. So that's why cognitive behavioral therapy really helped. It took me about 4 years of it to actually get a hold of some of the executive functioning or dysfunction that I have. My strongest one is probably emotional regulation I have a hard time with, and organization of things and time. I'm very time blind. I only see here and now. I have a really bad time horizon. I get up at like 4:45 and I'm still sometimes late for work at 8:30. That's 4 hours, friends. That's almost 4 hours. So if that doesn't explain a little bit of how time blindness works and how that impedes our executive functioning, I don't know what does. So my invitation to you is to find what works best for you. Like I've said before, make the systems work for you, not more work for you. Make them work for you. If you make them more work for you, then it's just going to make you more and more behind. Is that what we want? Really? No. I don't. I hope you don't either. And I hope that this episode helped you understand what executive dysfunction is, what executive functionings are, and if you're trying to maybe explain some of this to a loved one about your ADHD and the parts of your brain that are impacted by it, I invite you to share this episode with them. Or another person who has ADHD who might not understand this part. I invite you to share this episode with them so we can all learn and grow together to have the lives that we deserve. As always, stay authentic, my friends. Talk to you soon.